Yes, good morning. My name is Eugene Simos. I'm coming from France. I'm a senior instructor. So I'm here to see with you the course which is called OVS Server X86. It's a 3 days course, and during this kind of 3 days, okay, we will see introduction to this part, and we have to run some labs. Okay, so let's start by seeing some basic notions about what we have to do today. So we have to see several modules. So for the introduction module, we have to see what is the server virtualization and what are the benefits of that, okay, with some additional details. We have to see several virtualization types. We have to describe actually how the Oracle VM is running through this kind of IT implementations. What are the different components of the Oracle VM, different features of this kind of offer, and then we have to explore what you can do by running this kind of product. Okay, so every course is divided into different sections. So usually the first section is just giving you an introductory overview about the concepts. So we will see actually the server virtualization. Okay, we will see actually why you have to use this kind of concepts, maybe some kind of challenges or issues that you have to resolve. Okay, and then we will go into more details about this kind of product. So as we can see here, we have, by using the term, the Oracle VM, okay, or Oracle VM server. It's a product which is composed with Oracle VM for X86 and Oracle VM for Spark, with an additional component which is called the Oracle VM Manager. So this kind of products are, let's say, enterprise class server implementations, okay, and you will use them in order to deploy virtualizations into your servers. In this course, we will get focused in the Oracle VM server for X86, okay. All these softwares, they are installed anyway into physical hosts, so we will see in the labs how you have to run all these things. And on the same time, you have to provide, let's say, storage, network infrastructures in order to deploy your services. At the end of this kind of installations, then you will be able to run on the top of these servers virtual machines that they will materialize your server virtualization and your IT environment. So on the next slide, we see actually how these products, they will be installed and deployed in an IT infrastructure. So as you can see here, we have actually a part which is called Oracle VM Manager. So the Oracle VM Manager, it will be installed into a Linux server, and it will manage and monitor all the resources that they will be used by, let's say, the virtualization. Okay, the Oracle VM Manager, it will be also used to create and deploy virtual machines on the servers that they will run the component that we are calling Oracle VM Server. So the Oracle VM Server, it will be installed to every physical server which has to run this kind of virtualization. It is using, it's based on the SAN Hypervisor. So in our course, we will see the X86 version, although there is a Spark variation of this product. Okay, and then by using this product, you will be able to run, let's say, virtual machines that they will be monitored and deployed by the manager. So whenever you have to deal with Oracle server virtualization, so you will see that in this kind of architecture, you have to dispose, let's say, a physical layer, okay, which is having actually several servers, okay, that they will be used to deploy your Xen component. Then you have to create a pool of resources that they will aggregate, let's say, memory, applications, CPUs, and storage used to deploy actually and scale your virtual machines. And on the top of that, you have to create virtual servers, okay, virtual machines that they will materialize, let's say, several businesses or several, let's say, operating systems with additional software. So why you have to use this kind of concept? The basic idea is that maybe you have already servers that are running into individual physical hosts that they are not really very well used. So in this case, you will try to combine, let's say, what we're calling workloads into the same physical host by just implementing the virtualization layer, so you will get a better utilization of your resources. This is also seen as a kind of a resource optimization, okay? By doing this kind of aggregation, then everything will run in a much better way by just using better your physical resources. Another thing is that what's happening usually is that you might have applications that are running in an older kind of hardware. So in this case, if you virtualize this kind of configurations, then no matter if the hardware is getting older, then by having this kind of virtual machines, you can use the servers which are running the virtualization, and you can still continue to run your services. Of course, now, whenever you are running the virtualization on the top of any physical host, what you have several virtual machines that are running in a completely isolated way. So if one virtual machine is breaking, then another the other virtual machines, they can still be up and running without interruption, disruption of services. So this is another advantage of this kind of virtualization. Challenges with server virtualization. So no matter if you are going for a simpler or more complicated virtualization environment, usually you will hear that going for this kind of virtualization environments, you might, let's say, save money or economize resources on people that they were running normally these operations, etc., etc. So in a very simple operations, this might be true, but whenever you have to run more complicated configurations, then you will see that you will have to face a more complex situation, and maybe you might need still to run this virtualization as you have been running, let's say, the same environments into your physical host. So you will see that in these cases you have to be able to provide and still maintain operations that they will provision your servers, okay? Because the virtualization by itself is not really resolving this kind of issues, okay? You have to think about providing also high availability. We will see in the labs how you can provide this high availability, although this is, let's say, implemented by the product. You have to think how this has to be run into your services. And then, of course, if you have a very complicated layers of applications, then, of course, you still need to maintain this kind of complexity by just keeping the same architecture, or having exactly, let's say, architects that they have to work and maintain with some developers, these kind of configurations. So from this point on, we can say that once that you are able to work with this product, then you can create different configurations by just starting from the lower layer, which is the infrastructure as a service, where you can provide any kind of very low level services to your customers, and then you can continue by just providing more, let's say, complicated layers, or let's say business layers, like platform as a service or software as a service. So with Oracle, we will see that during this kind of configurations, it is a fairly easy task. And to make the things easier, Oracle just providing to the final customers what we are calling template and virtual appliances. So template and virtual appliances are pre-built virtual machines that they can be downloaded from the edelivery.oracle.com sites. Okay, so they are based to Linux. You can start by just downloading simple operating systems up to very complicated applications with all kind of Fusion middleware stack products. And in this case, you have to deploy them through your virtualization. We will see this the labs that we will use. And On the top of this kind of configurations, you can also include the Enterprise Manager, which is another, let's say, deployment or monitoring tool with some additional plugins. Then it will be able to, let's say, monitor and deploy these applications by creating what we are calling clouds on the top of the Oracle VM product. Okay, so we have a quiz which is just asking you to see some basic concepts, which with Oracle VM you can either realize the potential of your IT infrastructure or do away with your hardware because everything is virtualized, easily deploy a new virtual environment by using virtual appliances. So if we have to reply to this kind of questions, maybe the good questions would be the A and C, because you can realize anyway better your IT infrastructure by using this kind of virtualization, and you can maybe, okay, it's not always easy in the beginning, deploy new virtual environments by using the virtual appliances. Of course, the question B, do away with your hardware. It's partly true, because you still need hardware servers to run your IT environment. Again, this is an introduction to the next chapter, which is the concepts with the Oracle VM. Okay, so we have to understand or to see how this configuration has been designed, okay, by seeing the server virtualization technologies. Then we will see the hypervisor role and some additional concepts like the DOM 0, which is running on the top of the hypervisor, and the DOM U, which is materializing your virtual machines. Okay, then we will see actually the deployments that you might run and the type of different guests that you can run on the Oracle VM server. So initially, let's say when we have started to run this kind of configurations, the first implementation was a kind of hardware partitioning, because in these cases we had, let's say, hardware servers that they had specific partitions into which, let's say, any kind of customer was able to run specific operating system workloads. By having this kind of hardware partition, then we had an excellent, let's say, separation between this kind of workloads, and of course we could run in a more, let's say, advanced and appropriate way workloads on hardware servers. The problem with this it was that we had to always to follow constructors, okay, that they should provide this kind of solution, and of course every time that the constructor was changing the specifications, then we had to retest the whole application just to be sure that everything with the new configuration was running as previously. So in this kind of implementations, Oracle is proposing the traditional Oracle Spark, okay, which is based on the T or M series servers, which is still, let's say, a virtualization that is really widely used. The hardware partitioning was kind of tricky configuration. Then the next, let's say, step was to operate or to implement the kind of operating system partitioning. So the operating system partitioning then needs anyway a host operating system, and on the host operating system there we will perform, let's say, this kind of separations, okay, by having additional software, and in this case maybe the partitions onto which we have to run our workloads, they are somehow more or less well isolated, okay, and then you will be anyway able to run into any operating system then partition your additional workload. So one typical implementation of this kind of configuration can be seen as Oracle Solaris zones, which is able to perform this kind of architecture. Okay, now going a little bit further into virtualization, we have other concepts as the host-based hypervisor. So what is the host-based hypervisor? It is, let's say, a hypervisor which has to run on the top of one operating system. So we have actually, let's say, several layers that they will interact with the hardware. So in this kind of configurations, maybe you will get, let's say, a partitioning for your operating systems, but this kind of partitioning is not always very perfect. In this kind of environments, you can find, let's say, virtual box. This is the Oracle Virtual Box, VMware workstation or server, okay, KVM and QEMU and parallels. On the other side, you can implement, let's say, hypervisors that they will work on the top of your hardware. This is what we are calling bare metal hypervisors. Okay, so the bare metal hypervisor, it will interact directly, let's say, with the hardware. So this is the kind of the product Oracle VM that we will see. Microsoft Hyper-V, VMware ESX, Citrix, Xen Server. The next slide is just giving us, let's say, the implementation of the product. So you see on the top actually the Oracle VM Manager, which is, let's say, a software which is running into Linux server, Oracle Enterprise Linux or Red Hat Linux. So through this, let's say, product, you will be able, by using different kind of interfaces, as you see, you have the Oracle VM Manager user interface, a command line, or let's say web services, and through this kind of particular configurations with an Oracle MySQL associated database on the product, then you will be able to perform actions to every physical host to which you have installed what we are calling Oracle VM Server. So the Oracle VM Server for X86, it has to be installed to servers that are based on the Intel X86 or AMD architecture, X86 64 bytes architecture. And then they have to communicate with a specific, let's say, process which is called Oracle VM Agent, with the Oracle VM Manager. So whenever you are using this kind of configuration, you will see also that there is one particular domain which is called DOM0. So the DOM0, it's loaded just after the Xen Hypervisor, and then it will be a kind of, let's say, internal tool that it will be used for security management and communications of different other technical communications that they will have with kind of virtual machines. Okay, so whenever the DOM0 is up and running, then you will run what we are calling the DOM-U, which are the virtual servers that are running actually your real business cases. Okay, they can be operating systems with let's say 32 or 64 byte guests with whatever you want, actually from Linux to Windows or to Solaris X86. So we are supporting all these kind of environments. Okay, and then on the management of this kind of configurations through the server, through the Oracle VM server, you will see that you have actually a web interface, okay, that it can be used to create whatever services you need on the backend, let's say Oracle VS servers. You can also use a command line. So the command line, it is running as an additional service of the host which is running the Oracle VM Manager. So you will be able to connect and run whatever service you want to your additional services. And also there is a web services API that it will be used to, let's say, manage your services by making RESTful calls. Okay. So whenever you have to deal with this kind of configurations, you have to run what we are calling guests. So the guest, it will run the operating system plus your additional business scenarios that you have into this virtual machine. And these guests, they can be divided into three families: hardware virtualized guests. So these are guests that they are not aware about this kind of virtualization, guests that they will be installed as you are installing them in physical hosts. You have another configuration which is called PVM guest. So in this case, the guest is already aware that he's running into the virtualization, so the kernel is already, let's say, modified. It's containing generic libraries that they can enhance the I/O and the capabilities of this kind of servers with this virtualization, okay? And the hardware virtualized guest with PV drivers. So this is, let's say, a better implementation of hardware virtualized guests, for which the editor of the virtualization solution is providing some additional drivers that they have to be installed into these guests in order to improve, let's say, the I/O. Okay. On the next slide, the only thing that we can say is that, as you can see here, you are able to use a variety of configurations of operating systems that they can deploy either as hardware virtualized or hardware virtualized with PVM drivers or para-virtualized. Mainly you will see that with Microsoft Windows servers, you have to install this kind of configurations as hardware virtualized with PVM drivers. The PVM drivers you have to, for these servers, you have to download them from the Oracle website, okay? So we have just a quiz here. The Oracle VM agent is installed in the guest operating system of a virtual machine. Is it true or false? The answer is false, because the Oracle VM agent is installed on the Oracle VS server and not on the virtual machine. So this is module 1, part 2. Okay, so we will see here actually how the product is deployed in several kind of configurations. We have actually the Oracle VM Manager. So this Oracle VM Manager, as you see here, it has to be installed to a server which is not really virtualized, although it can be virtualized, but it's not recommended. Okay, and from there on, we can say that the Oracle VM Manager has to communicate with all kind of OVM servers that they will deploy this kind of concept, okay, the virtualization all over. So the Oracle VM Manager, anyway, it will manage, create virtual machines. It will hold several configurations by using a dedicated network and storing this kind of configuration to a dedicated MySQL database. Okay, you have several ways to configure this kind of IT environment by using either the console, the web console, either by using, let's say, a command line, which is also another way to use these things, or to run web services, which is another way as well to implement this kind of management. So in this case, as you can see here, you have to have also several servers, Oracle VM servers, okay, that they have to be installed directly to physical hosts that they are based on the X86 or AMD architecture. Okay, so in this case you don't need any other operating systems. Okay, the Oracle VM server, it will be the only operating system, but it can run on the top of 64, 32 virtual guest machines. Okay, so during the installation there will be a specific process which is called Oracle VM agent. Okay, so the agent, it's the responsible part that it has to hold the communications between the Oracle VM servers and the manager. And another concept that you can see here, it is that you have to make a logical aggregation of logical and physical aggregation of these VM servers into pools. Okay, so the notion of pool, it is a notion that it will be used to share common resources. Now, once that you have created this kind of configuration, you need, as we have here in the slides, several repositories. So repositories, they will be used to store, let's say, several, let's say, configurations of your virtual machines. They can be used to store ISO, let's say, distributions of virtual disks, templates, assemblies, and the repositories, they have to be implemented into physical storage. So repositories, they will be created either in the block devices, or
network access file systems, NAS servers. So block devices, they will be dedicated to only to one pool. NFS repositories, they can be shared among different pools. So this is an important, let's say, decision. So we will see this kind of implementation a little bit later on. Okay. So now one concept that we have seen before it is that you need already storage. So this kind of storage, you have to discover and manage it with a specific configuration, which is called Storage Connect Framework. Okay, so this storage can be, let's say, created on block devices configurations like SCSI servers or fiber channels, or let's say network access file systems like NFS. So the Storage Connect framework, it has actually two components. One component which is generic, and it can discover any kind of, let's say, storage functionality, and a more advanced configuration which is called plugins that they are validated by constructors and Oracle, which is giving you more advanced administration capabilities. Another variation to the storage can be seen as the notion which is called, local storage. So local storage, it's the configuration where in every or in some of your Oracle VM servers that are running this kind of virtualization, you have additional space, and this space can be used, okay, as a local storage in order to create some repositories, okay, and you can use this kind of configuration to test your VMs, okay, but without providing this kind of high availability. Now, the Oracle VM functional architecture from the point of view of networking. So this kind of product, as you have seen already, it is highly networked, okay. So you need also during this configuration to have, let's say, different kind of networks. We will see that during the discovery of the Oracle VM servers by the manager, one dedicated network, it will be created, which is called the management network, and through this management network, the manager, it will communicate by using the Oracle VS agent with every Oracle VM server. So another thing that you have to implement, it is a dedicated network for your storage. Okay, remember that you might have to use any kind of storage as block devices or NFS servers. So in these cases, you have to be able to create and maintain this kind of configuration, because in this external storage you will store your virtual machines. Another important thing is that once that you are creating virtual machines, these virtual machines, they are needing dedicated networks to provide their own functionality to internal or external services. And this is, we will show also how you have to create it. And then technically, whenever you are running this kind of configuration, you will see that you might have to provide high availability, or maybe the possibility to load balance the loads of the Oracle VS servers, okay, by just migrating or moving virtual machines from one place to another. So you need a dedicated network, which is called migration network. And for the high availability, another network which will be called clustered network, okay. Now, then let's see some specific features of this kind of implementation. One feature is called live migration. So the live migration is an important feature that if you implement it, then one virtual machine will migrate from a more loaded, let's say, OVM server to a less loaded server without losing any context. Okay, so this is we are calling memory migration, and this kind of concept will be useful in many configurations. For instance, if you want even to shut down one of your servers and put it to a maintenance even mode, then if you have running virtual machines, you can migrate them without disrupting the services. So in these cases, whenever you have to launch this kind of migration, you have to use identical physical, let's say, computers are based on the same physical architecture in order that this kind of memory migration will be successful. Otherwise, you might hit some issues that are described on the support documents of the product. Okay. So server pool policies. Once that you have the pools, then on the pool configuration, you can implement additional, let's say, enhancements of your architecture by implementing what we are calling distributed resource scheduling, okay, which is trigger live migrations according to your server load, okay, from more heavily loaded servers to less heavily loaded servers. And in this case, you have always a kind of balanced configurations to your Oracle VM environment. DPM, it's another configuration that it can be also implemented in order to shut down less used servers and migrate the VMs from this kind of configurations to more used servers. Okay, so in these cases, in the DPM, the goal is just to decrease actually the number of servers that they are not really used. And we have exactly another kind of implementation, which is called the high availability for virtual machines. So the high availability, it has to be configured on the server pool, but also it has to be implemented on every and its virtual machine, which is running on the top of your Oracle VM server. So in these cases, we have to create a clustered server pool, okay? And during this kind of process, if any server, Oracle VM server, has a kind of hardware failure, okay, VMs that are running on this environment, they will be shut down and they will be restarted to other servers that they are compatible with this CPU architecture inside of this kind of server pool. And in this case, your virtualization will be available to another point of your server pool. Okay, then whenever you have to run this kind of configuration, we will see that even if the manager for any reason is unavailable or you are losing the connectivity with the manager, okay, then this kind of concept is still valid because every server is having, let's say, the dedicated configuration information which is needed to run or to perform this kind of thing. So this kind of configuration has to be implemented in a clustered pool, and then we say that these concepts, they can be easily be implemented, deployed, because Oracle is providing either templates. So templates, remember that they are kind of pre-configured, not really ready to be used, but configurations that for which you have to provide some additional settings, okay? And these configurations, they will create you virtual machines. Appliances, on the other side, are, let's say, a logical grouping of several virtual machines contained into the same artifact that they will be created when you are deploying them into your virtualization environment. So in this case, instead by having to reinvent the whole wheel, okay, of servers, configurations, etc., then you have to use the templates or the assemblies, and then you might even use the, let's say, the enterprise manager in order to make this kind of configuration much easier, okay? Now, what are the benefits of the Oracle VM solution? So the whole thing can be deployed very fast or relatively fast because we are providing already templates and assemblies. Okay, you can see that with this kind of configurations, you will be able, let's say, to retune your workload into your IT environment, okay, by just implementing some kind of policies. We have, through the manager, a flexible, let's say, management interface, and we will say simply that these products, they will be, and they are already integrated with other virtualization products that Oracle is providing to the customers, and you can move very easily with these products to the cloud. Okay, so in this slide we have, let's say, generic concepts that you can implement by using this kind of virtualization architecture, by saying that the Oracle virtualization in the Oracle IT system, it is combined by using the products from the family of the Oracle VM Server X86 or the Oracle VM Server for Spark. Okay, so this is the first level of virtualization. Then if you want to virtualize your networks, you can use another product which is called Oracle Fabric Interconnect. Previously this product was called Xigo Fabric Director. Using the virtualization, you need anyway storage, so this storage can be provided by ZFS appliances or other products that Oracle is providing, like Oracle Pillar Axiom. And on the top of this kind of virtualization, you can run, let's say, servers that they will use the Linux operating system, Unbreakable Linux or Oracle Solaris. And this kind of deployment can be done very fast by using Oracle VM templates that they have already been pre-configured to run additional, let's say, software layers, feature middleware, databases, complete stack of other products like e-business suite, GD Edworks, etc., etc. And the whole virtualization stack can be managed by using the product which is called Enterprise Manager. Now, Oracle, on the same time, is proposing a pre-built, pre-configured, and pre-installed appliance, which is called Oracle Private Cloud Appliance. So the main architecture of this Oracle Private Cloud Appliance, it is that when you get this appliance, you have already storage, you have already Oracle VM servers that are pre-configured and manager, so you don't need to install the whole, let's say, stack as we will do in this lesson. The only thing that you need to do in this case is just to import your templates or virtual machines or assemblies, and you have simply to start your production, okay, in a very well controlled environment, okay, so you don't have issues with compatibility of the servers or whatever. Okay, so in these cases, if you need, let's say, more capacity, the only thing that you have to do, or CPU, or you want to scale out your configuration, it is just to add some additional blades, and then you will be ready to provide the additional services very easily. So we have another quiz about this kind of live migration. So the live migration is the process of moving a running virtual machine from one Oracle Virtual VM Manager to another VM Manager, first question. From one VM server to another in the same server pool. From one repository to another belonging to same server pool, or to another virtual machine, the same server pool, which is identical to the migrating virtual machine. So actually, whenever you have to trigger this kind of live migrations, please remember that the live migration has to be run between two identical Oracle VM servers, okay, that they are belonging, of course, to the same server pool. So we have seen already different kind of concepts about the virtualization. We have seen different types of implementation of the virtualization. We have seen how the Oracle VM it is implemented with the manager and the server, okay, different components, different features and benefits that you can do whenever you are running a virtualization, and what Oracle is offering as let's say, products to the customers, okay. So we have one practice. So in this practice we will see the implementation that Oracle is proposing you for the labs, okay. Actually, you will be able to run all these commands that you need as root. I will give you just the credentials and we will run the associated, let's say, steps. And then we will see how you can access actually several hosts by using the command which is called VNC Viewer.
Let's start the practices. So the practice 1-1, you have to become familiar with the host and networks in our lab environment, okay? For the practice of this lesson, you have already assigned a lab machine on which you perform all your lab exercises, okay? So your lab machine has been set up to support your entire VM environment, and in this practice you have to locate the major elements that are used for the lab practices in this course. So actually, when you have to get logged into your servers with the credentials that you have, then you will have, let's say, this kind of outlook that I'm having in my desktop. So in this case, what you have to do here, it is just to click on the terminal. You have to get logged as root with your own password, okay? And then you have to execute the command xmlist. So here on, you can see that there are actually several servers that they are already installed for you as virtual machines, okay? And in this case, we have to work with this kind of servers. As you can see here, there is one domain 0 that it has not to be used, okay? So this is installed with the base machine Xen server. And then we have 3 additional virtual machines, OVM MGR01. So this is the virtual machine that it will be used to install the Oracle VM Manager. OVS VR1, so this is what we will see as the first Oracle VM server, and OVS VR02, which is a second server, okay? Now, for this kind of servers, if you enter the command ccat/etc hosts, every and each of these servers having a dedicated IP address, okay, that it can be used, it will be used to attain these servers and get connected into these servers, okay. So every OVS VR01 and OVS VR02, okay, has different kind of networks that we will use them, okay, later on in the labs, okay. And well, this is it. So end of the 1.1-1. Access your lab machine and switch to the root user. So according to the settings that Oracle will deliver you, you have to enter your IP address 2.1 to get connected as a VNC user. So you have to provide the password VNC tech as it's stated into the labs, and then once that this authentication is successful, you are having actually this kind of desktop which is belonging to the VNC user. Then for the rest of the exercises you have to switch to the root user. So you click here to the terminal, SCU hyphen with the password that you have created for the root user, and then you have actually the prompt of the super user, and this is the end of the 1-2. Practice 1-3. Access a running host with an active network interface. So in this practice you access the server ovsvr01.example.com, okay, which is called so far your first Oracle VM server, which is already installed and it's active. We will use the SSH command, okay. We have already been logged to the system as a super user, okay. So once more, before to run these labs with cat
etc hosts, you can get either the real IP addresses that it has been they have been assigned to the server, either let's say the name conventions. Okay, so I will make the things a little bit easier. I can make an SSH to the OVS VR01. Okay, and then you are already logged into the server. Okay, so once that you are logged into the server, you can perform, let's say, several operations. As you can see here, you have already a warning, okay, by telling you should not make any kind of modification to the kernel, okay, unless some things that we will do a little bit later. Okay, so the command, the following command, etc/ovs it will give you also the release of the server. So as you can see here, this server has been installed with the Oracle VM release 3.4.1. Okay, let's see the host information. Okay, display the name resolution. Okay, so there's a name server which has been installed to the base station. Okay, here. Okay, so let's ping the servers. So ping OVS VR01. Okay, you are able to ping the servers. Okay, let's ping the server which is running the manager. Okay, so the Linux box is replying. So at this time we have finished, let's say, the lab 1-3. Practice 1-4 access running host with the XM VNC viewer command. For this lab, you are connected already to your base station. Okay, and then you will run the command XM VNC viewer with the OVS VR01 to open a VNC viewer, as you can see here, to the running instance of the OVS server. Okay, so sometimes you might have to wait a little bit. You have to place your cursor into the middle of the screen. Okay, and you have to enter, you have to click on enter in order to have this kind of outlook that says to you that we have an Oracle VM Server 3.41 installed to the OVS VR server. Okay, this is the local host name. Okay, there is not yet a manager who is owning this server. There is already an OVS agent which is up and running. You can see actually the free memory of the server. Now, on the other side, if you want to simulate, let's say, an interaction with this server through the VNC viewer, okay, let's try to play with the Alt plus F2. Okay, just wait a minute. So sometimes these combinations are not working correctly, so you have to start to click inside your screen, then you have to click on the F8. Okay, so you have to simulate this command by clicking the Alt and then F2, and then you have a login prompt for the OVS server. So in this case, you provide the root. It's always a little bit tricky. remove the Alt from here. Okay. The password is Oracle, so you are just get logged into the server, okay? And this is the end of the practice 1-4.